All right. So getting into it today, we're going to be diving deep into electromyostimulation.
EMS.
Yeah, EMS, exactly, for strength training.
Right.
And you sent over a whole bunch of research on this. I have to say, I'm pretty fascinated. I'm very curious about it.
Yeah.
We're going to try to figure out today if it lives up to the hype.
Okay.
What the best training plan is, what to watch out for, all that good stuff. So are you ready?
Yeah, let's get into it. The research is really pretty wild, actually. There's definitely some compelling evidence out there. It's not just hype.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase. Does EMS actually work for building strength?
Yeah. So
Can we ditch the gym and just slap on some electrodes and get ripped?
it's not quite that simple.
Okay.
But the research is really surprisingly positive. A lot of the studies shows significant strength gains, both for people who are seasoned athletes
Okay.
and people who are just starting out.
Interesting.
So it's not that it's going to replace your training. It's more like it can give you a boost.
Gotcha. So it's a tool,
Yeah.
not a magic bullet.
Exactly.
But you mentioned, trained versus untrained individuals, and I think that's really interesting. Is there a difference in how those two groups respond?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of the things that is really fascinating is that people who are new to exercise actually see bigger gains with EMS
Wow.
than people who are already kind of,
Really?
like stronger, basically. So it's almost like it helps people who are untrained catch up faster.
That's wild.
Yeah.
So speaking of efficiency, I'm all about optimizing workouts, right?
Right.
What does the research say about the sweet spot for training?
So,
Like, often are we doing this? How intense? What's the magic formula?
so frequency you're talking about. The research points to about 3 sessions per week
Okay.
being the sweet spot.
Interesting.
You might think if 3 is good, maybe 6 is better, but
Right. Yeah.
they found that doing it more than 3 times a week can hinder your progress.
Wait, so less is more. Okay. That's interesting. I like that. I'm all about working smarter, not harder. So what about intensity?
Yeah.
How strong do these electrical pulses need to be to actually make a difference?
So intensity is key,
Okay.
and it's usually measured as a percentage of your maximum voluntary contraction, or MVC,
Okay.
which is like how much force you can generate on your own.
Gotcha.
And research suggests that to see significant strength gains, you want to aim for a stimulation intensity of at least 50% of your MVC.
So it's like a personalized dial then for your training.
Exactly, yeah.
That makes sense. Now, are they like zapping your whole body, or is this like targeted muscle groups?
That's a good question. There's actually research that looks at both.
Okay.
There's whole body EMS and there's targeted.
Okay.
Both have shown pretty promising results.
Okay.
The whole body EMS is good for like if you're short on time
Okay.
and you just want to get like a full body workout.
Yeah.
The targeted EMS lets you zero in on like maybe you have a muscle group that you want to work on.
Right. Or you have like an imbalance you're trying to correct.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we've got frequency, intensity. We've got like the method, whether you're doing whole body or targeted. What else should we know about optimizing EMS training?
Well, the other things to think about are impulse width and then session duration.
Okay, those sound a little technical for me. Can you break those down? How do those impact how effective the training is?
Yeah, so impulse width, think of it like this. It's basically the duration of each electrical pulse.
Okay.
And then,
Like how long is the zap?
yeah. And the research suggests that shorter impulses lasting about 3 to 10 seconds are more effective for building maximum strength.
Okay.
But then longer impulses, so something like 20 to 25 seconds, might be better for enhancing speed and power.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's like we're tailoring the EMS to the goal.
Exactly.
Short bursts,
Yeah.
strength, longer speed and power.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay, so what about then the duration of the entire session?
Yes.
How long are we talking?
So they looked at a range.
Okay.
But on average, the EMS sessions tend to fall around 15 to 20 minutes,
Okay, so actually not
which,
very long.
it goes back to the frequency, right?
Right.
So shorter, more intense sessions seem to be better.
Okay, so quality over quantity.
Yeah.
We're seeing a theme here.
Exactly.
Okay, so 3 times a week, 15, 20 minutes each time.
Right.
Intensity, impulse width, all adjusted based on what you're going for.
Right.
We're like building a little recipe here.
Exactly.
Is there anything else we should add to the mix?
One more thing. The type of electrical impulse. Biphasic or monophasic?
Okay, now you're speaking my language. Biphasic, monophasic.
Mm-hmm.
What is the difference and why should I care?
So biphasic, think of it as like a current that changes direction.
Okay.
And monophasic just flows in one direction.
Okay.
And it seems like that difference with the biphasic makes it more comfortable.
Okay.
And it also allows for more intense stimulation.
So we're kind of getting the best of both worlds there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can go more intense without it being
Right.
uncomfortable.
Comfort and intensity. Good combination.
Exactly.
So before we wrap up this part of our little deep dive on EMS, are there any downsides?
Yeah.
Anything we should be aware of?
You're right. Like any training, it's good to look at the risks and the rewards, right?
Safety first. Always.
So muscle soreness is one.
Okay.
That's a common side effect. But it's usually temporary, and it's similar to what you'd get after a tough workout.
So that's to be expected. Is there anything more serious to be aware of?
The risk of injury is relatively low when it's used correctly.
Okay.
But it's really important to follow the proper guidelines.
Right, yeah.
Avoid overtraining, which is, that's where working with a professional can be helpful, right?
It makes sense.
They can make sure.
Someone who knows what they're doing.
Exactly, yeah. They can help you figure out the parameters, make sure that you're using it safely, that kind of thing.
Makes total sense. So a little soreness, maybe, but if you have some guidance there, it can help minimize the risk.
Right.
We've covered a lot of ground here. I feel like we've talked about the science. We talked about optimizing the training. What are your biggest takeaways so far from everything we've discussed?
I think what's exciting is that, we talk about it, EMS has potential for people who are new to exercise, people who are athletes.
Mm-hmm.
It can be a really cool way to enhance strength training. It can help you accelerate your gains potentially.
Right.
And even, like we talked about, personalize workouts to what your goals are. But it's not a magic solution.
Right.
So understanding these nuances, like the frequency, the intensity, all these little parameters.
Little dials that we can adjust.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Important to get it right.
Awesome. Well, I'm feeling much more informed, I have to say.
Good.
3 times a week for those kinds of results. I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
But I know we've only just scratched the surface.
Yeah, for sure.
So what else are we going to get into in our next part of this deep dive?
Well, next we can actually look at some specific studies.
Oh, perfect.
And see how it works, like in the real world.
I like it. Love it. All right, sounds good. We'll be right back after this quick break. All right, you've got me hooked on the potential of EMS, real-world examples. Let's hear it.
Okay, so one study by Boak, Behrens, and Meinkick. They found that untrained individuals who did whole-body EMS 3 times a week for 12 weeks saw a significant increase in their maximum strength.
Okay.
We're talking about a 30% improvement.
30%. That's huge.
Yeah.
Especially for just 12 weeks. What was the EMS training like in that study?
So they used a combo of like isometric and dynamic contractions during those EMS sessions.
Okay.
Each session was only about 10 minutes.
Okay.
And they went up to a pretty high intensity, like 90% of the MBC.
Wow. So high intensity, short sessions.
Yeah, exactly.
Mix of contractions. Sounds like a recipe for some gains.
Yeah. And there's other studies that back that up too. There was another one by Filipovich and colleagues, and they looked at elite athletes, trained sprinters.
Okay.
And they found that adding EMS 3 times a week to their training led to improvements in maximum strength and jumping ability.
Oh, wow. So it's not just for beginners. It can help even elite athletes.
It seems that way.
That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Is that whole body or targeted?
That one was targeted. EMS, they focused on the quads.
Okay.
And interestingly, they used a longer impulse duration, so like 20 seconds.
Oh, so that's what you're saying about longer impulses maybe being better for
speed, power development.
Speed and power. Yeah. Okay. It's all coming together.
Right.
What about the whole body EMS studies? Did those show any benefits for athletic performance?
They did. So there's one by Maffioletti and colleagues, and they looked at the effects of whole body EMS on volleyball players.
Okay.
And they found that doing EMS just twice a week for 4 weeks resulted in significant improvements in vertical jump height.
2 times a week, even less than the 3 we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And it still made a noticeable difference.
It seems like even a small amount
Wow.
can be beneficial.
Okay, I like that. It's like a little secret weapon.
Well, yeah, exactly.
To boost your performance.
Yeah, that extra little push.
Okay, so we've got strength for untrained individuals. We've got, performance enhancement for elite athletes. We've got jumping. What about speed?
So
Can EMS make you faster?
There is research on that, too. So Gondon and his team found that EMS training led to improvements in sprint times.
Okay.
In trained water polo players.
Interesting.
And they used a similar approach to that study on untrained individuals, where they did a combo of isometric and dynamic contractions.
So no matter what your current fitness level is, what sport you play,
Seems like...
EMS could potentially make you faster.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah. Sign me up. Okay, all right, you've convinced me it's got potential. But how does it actually stack up against like good old-fashioned strength training?
Right.
Like, did they do any head-to-head comparisons?
They did, yeah. So there's one study by Babolt and colleagues.
Okay.
They compared EMS training to just traditional strength training.
Okay, a head-to-head.
Head-to-head, looking at muscle strength and size.
Who won?
So both groups, both EMS and the weightlifting group, they saw similar gains in strength.
Okay.
But the traditional weightlifting group had greater increases in muscle size.
Interesting.
Yeah, so...
So it's building strength without necessarily packing on a ton of bulk.
Right, yeah. So it could be really interesting, like...
That is interesting.
For certain athletes.
Yeah.
Where there's weight classes or...
Yeah, or just like, I want to be stronger, but I don't necessarily want to get bigger.
Right.
Interesting. What's your take on that?
It makes me think that maybe EMS activates muscle fibers differently than weightlifting.
Okay.
Like it might kind of prioritize that neuromuscular efficiency.
Neuromuscular efficiency, say that 5 times fast. Okay, so what does that mean though? Like,
so basically it's the communication between your brain and your muscles.
So EMS is helping my brain and my muscles get on the same page.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
And that leads to those strength gains.
Interesting, okay. So it's almost like we're hacking the system.
Yeah, yeah.
We're bypassing the need for the heavyweights.
Right.
To trigger those adaptations.
Exactly. You're directly stimulating the muscle.
Okay.
You don't need the weight to do it.
That's wild. Okay, so we see this potential difference in muscle fiber activation. Anything else stand out to you from the research?
Yeah, one thing that they noticed is that a lot of these effects, they were more pronounced in the legs.
Interesting.
Than the upper body.
Is that just because leg muscles respond better? Is there something about that?
That's a good question. We don't know for sure. It could just be because most of the studies focused on the legs, especially the quads.
Okay.
But another theory is that maybe leg muscles, they have more fast-twitch fibers.
Oh, okay.
And those might be more responsive to this kind of stimulation.
Okay. So fast-twitch fibers, those are the ones we're using for like sprinting, jumping, those explosive movements.
Exactly.
And if you think back to those studies with the volleyball players and the sprinters, both focused on the legs, both saw benefits. So maybe EMS is particularly effective for training those fast-twitch fibers?
Could be.
Okay, now I'm getting really excited. Maybe EMS is like the key to unlocking some hidden athletic potential.
Right.
Making us faster, stronger, jump higher.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so you've highlighted a lot of positives, but it's important to remember that it's not a magic cure-all, right?
Right.
There are some things to watch out for. What are your thoughts on that?
So one of the biggest things is that muscle soreness, especially for people new to it.
Right.
You have to start slowly, gradually increase the intensity, the duration.
Yeah, let your body adapt.
Exactly.
Okay. So soreness, noted. Anything else?
So another thing is there's a potential for some skin irritation.
Okay.
With the electrodes.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
They can cause some redness, some discomfort, especially if you're not putting them on correctly or if you have sensitive skin. So
making sure you're using good electrodes.
Yeah, good quality.
Putting them in the right spot.
Exactly.
Listening to your body.
Yeah, if you see something's up.
Yeah, if it doesn't feel right, it's probably not right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is a big one. It's not suitable for everyone.
Okay, right.
So if you have certain medical conditions, like a pacemaker, epilepsy, if you're pregnant, EMS is not for you.
So always good to talk to a doctor or a medical professional before starting any new program, especially one that's using electrical currents.
100%.
Safety first.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So soreness, potential skin irritation. Yeah, I think a big one is that, while it can really enhance a training program,
right,
it's not a replacement for traditional exercise.
Okay.
You still need to move your body.
Right.
Do other things.
It's not an excuse to just sit on the couch and zap yourself and call it good.
Right. Exactly.
Got it. Okay. Now, before we move on, I want to circle back to something. We've been talking about EMS for building strength, speed, power, all that. But what about recovery?
Oh, interesting.
Could it be used to help athletes bounce back faster after a hard workout?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And researchers are definitely looking at this.
Okay.
There's some early evidence that it actually might be able to speed up recovery.
Okay.
Maybe by increasing blood flow, reducing that muscle soreness.
Okay.
Even helping with, like, tissue repair.
Interesting.
But we need more research.
Right, it's early days.
Exactly.
But it seems like the potential applications are huge.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm very curious to see what the future holds. So we covered a lot of ground.
We did.
The science, the potential benefits, things to watch out for. It's pretty clear that EMS it's here to stay.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere.
As we're wrapping up here, what's your final, like, thought-provoking insight on this whole topic?
You know, we talked a lot about strength, speed, power, all that.
Right.
But I think the potential for EMS in rehabilitation is huge.
Rehabilitation. Okay.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Think about someone recovering from an injury.
Okay.
Maybe a sports injury.
Yeah.
Or someone with, like, limited mobility.
Okay.
EMS could be used to help activate and strengthen those muscles that they're having trouble engaging.
Wow.
So it could really help them recover faster, regain that mobility, and just improve their quality of life.
So we're not even just talking about athletic performance now. We're talking about, like, helping people regain function independence.
Yeah, exactly.
That's pretty amazing.
And who knows?
Yeah.
There's just one example.
Yeah.
As we learn more about this technology, more about the human body, there could be so many other applications that we discover.
It really is kind of mind-blowing when you think about it. We started off wondering if it even worked, and now we're talking about, like, transforming rehabilitation and all these other possibilities. It's really cool.
Yeah, it's been fun to dive deep into this.
It has. For our listener, I hope that this has sparked some curiosity. If you've never tried EMS, maybe this is your sign to look into it, learn more about it.
Yeah, explore those possibilities.
You might just surprise yourself.
Exactly.
All right. Well, that's it for today's deep dive. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you next time.